Barney! Let's go, man. We will get you on yet, my friend. How about that? Check me out, I'm standing. Right? I got a standing desk delivered like 2 months ago or something. It was a long time ago. But it was right when it started becoming more difficult to like buy things and get things to your home. And so the problem was I got this standing desk, I moved all my stuff onto it, got my old desk just disassembled in the trash. It was like a 15-year-old desk. And the problem was the cables that went from my sub to my monitors like was not long enough to accommodate for standing, so for sure be pulling them off the back of the desk, you know? So finally, got some cables. And here we are. It's like pretty sweet actually, I'm having a good time with it. I recall a long time ago I saw like some promo shot or studio shot of the now sadly passed Jory Prum studio down in Fairfax, California, and he was just like had this awesome standing setup with like multiple workstations, and I was like, oh man, that guy's doing it right. So yes, have him in mind. Standing now, it's pretty sweet. Okay, hello everyone. We got Josh Adam Bell in the chat. We got Francesco Del Pia also in the chat somewhere. Make a template. There he is. Nice. I'm glad that both your Twitter handles and Twitch handles are pretty close to each other. It's very helpful. The two fine gentlemen joining us from Cloud Imperium Games, working on Star Citizen. I'll give you one hot second here. Just want to close my door. Sorry. Okay, we got Barney Oram. Taco Bowl, Dawn Laundry, that's Joey at Power Up. Why are you still not a mod, man? Can I mod you right now? Did that work? I can't do that, I don't have permission. Strangely, somehow, still on permission. Wrong account. Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna do it right now. Look at this. /mod Dawn Laundry. There you go. Done. Finally done. Jeez. Okay. At last. Andy G, I saw you on Twitter saying you couldn't make it previously. You finally made it again. I'm glad you're here. Of course. Natasha, good to see you as always. Craig B. Stegman. Nice shirt. Thanks, man. Killer shirt, sorry. Kieran, been talking to Kieran on Twitter a little bit today. Good to see you, buddy. Con Laye? Con. Well, good to see you. That's a new name, I think. First time live in the chat. There you go. After years watching offline. Holy, well, welcome on in. I'm glad you could finally make it while it's happening. So feel free to chime in if you have thoughts, as I'm sure you've been seeing on the VODs here and there. 100% Kansas beef. There you are again. I saw you last week, right? That's a strong handle. Marto's sound. Is that Andrea? Is that you? Marto's? Or is that someone else? Yee. Okay, I'm assuming that was in response. There you go. Mod Stegman? Oh, Mod. Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. We're gonna revolt. We're doing it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Here we go. Here we go. /mod C B. Oh my god. B Stega, man. There you go. Wield the power responsibly, please. Alright. Last time you saw Kevin, I didn't have a beard. Would you see me in like 2006? It's been a while, man. Anyways, as I was saying, we got Cloud Imperium Games sound designers, Josh Adam Bell and Francesco Del Pia. I've known each of them for a little while now. Francesco was in Vancouver for a while. Crossed paths here and there while he was here. And as well, Josh, I, of course, met first just through this stream. He submitted his stuff back in like May of 2017. It's going back a long, long way. And I think you were on twice, weren't you, Josh? I guess I can ask you once you're on the call. But I feel like you're on twice at some point. That feels correct. And yeah, so today marks the very first time that we've had a guest host who has also, at some point in the past, submitted their work to be reviewed. So that's pretty sick, indication of some movement forwards. But I mean, Josh is like frequently, the big joke, the Josh Adam Bell drinking game. Drink each time Josh is in the show. So I mean, hope you have a bottle handy. There's gonna be a bunch today. We may have some fun. We'll see how it goes. But I guess without further ado, I'll just get him on here. Sorry. Dance with the Dead. By the way, dancewiththedead.bandcamp.com. Saw them live a couple years back. So good. So good. Okay, let me just find Skype. Where you at? There it is. Okay, and a call. We got one, we got two. There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Yo. Josh, you there too?
Yeah, I'm coming through.
Oh, there he is. You're coming through just fine. Nice.
Cool.
Skype finds you. Thanks, Tony. Good to see you. Well, welcome on in, guys. Thank you so much for making the time. I know it's pretty late over there in in your homeland. It's not quite 4 p.m. PST, so thanks a lot.
Thank you for
Right.
having us here.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So, you're both working at Cloud Imperium right now. I know one thing that we like to bring up on the show for guest hosts to kind of remind everyone that everyone starts somewhere, regardless of where that might be or how that might be. And it would be awesome if either of you or each of you could just offer a bit of insight as far as like how you got your respective starts. And and hopefully it's not like everyone's, as Francesco's namesake says, make a template. This might not be a template for anybody else as far as how they got to get in the industry, but it's certainly helpful and just interesting to kind of hear, how people's paths might differ as far as the way in the door. So I'm not sure, maybe Josh first?
Yeah.
Cool.
I got into sound when I was younger and playing in bands and all that kind of stuff, but never came across sound design until like my second year of university, I think. So like I went to uni with grand dreams of becoming some big record producer or mix engineer or something like that, and then quickly realized that wasn't really a viable career path. I just kind of stumbled across sound design for games in like my second year of uni, and it never really realized it was a thing you could do before. I think that's quite a common thing. People
I had the same thing. Totally. Yeah. I mean, even last week, Matthew Martinson was on the show saying that he was working at Blue Wave Studios here in Vancouver, and he was kind of just quipped that it was like a line of work where you're being paid by people who have no money, like just indie bands and stuff. So it's certainly like it's doable, but it's a very select few who will probably make it in the recording and mixing scene. Yeah,
and I'm not sure how I came across the realization that it was something you could do, but I did. And then I was just kind of regretting the fact that I wrote myself into this 3-year course, and then halfway through it I didn't really want to do it anymore, so I had to try and find ways to make that music technology course end up giving me something at the end for a show reel for game audio. So I kind of basically just begged my lecturers to let me make my own little game for my final year project and do all the sound for it. And that was how I first got into messing around in UE4 and Wise and all that kind of stuff. And then it just kind of went from there.
Is that content that you made in UE4 and Wise and such, is that what we saw on your first submission back in May 2017?
No, the stuff on that was stuff I did in my own time outside of uni, but while I was at uni. Yeah. I just kind of went from there, and I didn't quite want to leave the realm of education just yet. So I went to go and study a master's in game audio at Leeds Beckett University, and then was just piling the hours into my showreel and stuff. I just got myself in this like mode of just like, this is exactly what I want to do. I need to just pour all the time possible into this. So then it was like, I think I'd been doing that master's course for 1 week when I went on Real Talk the second time, and then got the job at Cloud Imperium.
And you were contacted pretty promptly after that second showing, right?
Thanks to Barney Oram, I think.
Oh, of course, yeah. So Barney Oram in the chat right now he's ex Cloud Imperium. He's now working with Sweet Justice, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And maybe some freelance stuff too. I'm not entirely sure what Barney is doing exactly right now. But yes, Barney, how are you not part of these invites? As I said, you may have wanted in late, but yes, I said we'll get Barney on yet. We'll find time. There's only so many Thursdays in the year. Also, just putting out the fact there are guest host slots open. We've had a lot of people like hitting me up and saying, put me in there. In fact, even just today, Rob Krekel from he just finished up working on Last of Us Part 2. He is audio lead over there at Naughty Dog, and yeah, he's like, put me in, guest host, done. So I guess July 2nd I'll be in. So anyways, as far as Barney being here and there, so Barney was working there already. How did Barney know you?
We met each other a few times at like meetups and stuff in the UK, but yeah, we never really spoke that much, which is why it was so surprising to get the email from Lee, our old audio director, asking me to come in for an interview, because it was kind of just, for me, like completely out of the blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like oftentimes
that was just like kind of right place, right time, I guess. Like.
Yeah, I was going to say that exactly. It just seems like very frequently you get that kind of feedback from, or just looking into your own, just retrospectively looking into your own past, and you think, oh, I guess just that was super lucky. I was like in that room, met that person, but it's not like you went from like zero and putting no time in anywhere to like being in that room and being that person, So it's always like you build up a body of work or a body of like a Rolodex, so to speak, of contacts and such. And then eventually, when you're in that room, it's like a good room to be in, and there's good people there, and you might get a job out of it, right? So
it was. Yeah, I'm like really, really grateful for it all. It was so lucky. Like I think I got the job like 2 days before the cut-off point to have to pay the tuition fees for that for that semester. So, like, I got offered the job and I just ran straight down to the union and went like, please, I don't want to pay you anything. And then it's just like it just all happened. It just seemed to slot into place. It was super lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you, Barney Oram, for as someone said, he owes you his entire foot into the door of Game Audio. Well, thanks, Barney. So I guess Cloud Imperium Star Citizen remains your first paid gig, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes, besides your mixing gigs here and there and so forth before that.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks a lot, man. Francesco?
I think that Barney had a huge role. I'm at Cloud Imperium as well. So I had recently gone back to Italy after my experience in Canada, and it was I was looking for a job and found the open position for a junior at Cloud Imperium, and at the same time I was talking to Nate Isk. He was working at DICE at the time, at DICE LA. And I think Nate was talking to Barney. Well, it was this weird triangle. And but because of that, I think Barney saw my website and forwarded it to Lee, our former audio director. And basically, Lee contacted me before I even did the official application. And then after that, in a matter of weeks, really, I did the test. I did the first interview, the second interview, where they flew me here. Mm-hmm. To the UK from Italy, and then in just a matter of like maybe less than 3 weeks total, I was working here. So it was a very quick turn of events, I guess.
Dang. I mean, so
And I owe Barney as well. Yeah.
everyone in the chat, please thank you, Barney. So you said Lee contacted you before you could apply, right? Did he contact you also, Josh?
Yeah, I just woke up to an email one day asking me to come in. Yeah.
So that's not the most common way into a studio, I don't think. I don't think that audio, directors, leads go around like making emails very, very frequently unless they have, referrals and recommendations from people that they trust, certainly. So yes, it can't possibly hurt to meet and make friends because you never know where that referral will come from, right? Thank you, Barney, says Rawpaws. Thanks, Cole. Was Star Citizen your first paid gig, though, Francesco?
Not really. I mean, it was my first in-house job. Before that, I did a bit of freelancing here and there. Like Josh, I started with music, so I studied music composition, and I was very interested in music applied to other things, not like absolute music. So
sure.
Music for cinema, theater, commercials, that kind of thing. So I did that for a few years, but I was very fascinated by the interactive possibilities of music, and so like in the theatrical plays I was working, and I was messing around with Max MSP and trying to create like absurdly convoluted patches that would trigger interactive music. And I didn't really know what middleware were, and I didn't know anybody working game audio at the time. I didn't really know that game audio was a thing, I mean, I wasn't aware of that. And so it took me quite a bit of time to realize that was exactly what I wanted to do. And I figured out that in Italy I couldn't do that, and I needed to improve my skills. And so I went to Vancouver, where I studied at VFS. I did the sound design program there.
As did our co-founder here, Jeff Tangsock. I think Jeff's in the chat somewhere, but he was also a VFS. Yeah.
After I graduated, I did some freelance gigs there, and then I had some visa issues. I mean, my visa expired, and I had to go back to Italy.
But it worked out in the end, I guess.
It did work out.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thanks, guys, and again, thank you again for making the time at this late hour to help us out. So, if anyone in the chat is new to Real Talk, we are doing a thing here every Thursday at 4 p.m. PST. We're looking at game audio, demo material content, websites, and videos and such, reels, and just trying to give some constructive, positive feedback to people submitting to say, well, here's what you are doing great, here's what could use some work, and here just like get rid of this entirely. Just trying to give some idea of steps they could take to get a little more traction in getting the gigs they're trying to get, right? So first off, we're looking at, just down below here, we're looking at presentation. That's the website on the whole, the video content, just general navigation, things like flow, information, if like there's too much information or not enough, or that kind of thing. We're looking at material selection. That is the various pieces selected for the demo material, for the portfolio, for the reel itself, and what those selections might suggest about that person's past work history, about their current skill sets, and maybe most importantly, their future ambitions. And for content quality, simply, is it good? And if there's room to improve, we'll try to give you an idea of where you could level up your work. And finally, distinction. Are you standing out in some way? And when you're Josh Adam Bell and you come on Real Talk and you remain probably the strongest reel that we've still seen. I don't know, man. It's pretty good. Here we go. Take a shot. JoshAdamBell.com. I know I can't ask you to talk yourself up, so I'll talk you up for you, okay? Josh's demo material is very good. And in fact, we've seen, I'm sure you've seen this too, Josh. We've seen several people like ape your website big time. Like
I've seen it.
A bunch.
I mean, it is just a Squarespace template, but
it is, but like it's not just the template, it's like the layout of the videos and like the content. It's crazy. And I'm not going to call anyone out, but there's like at least 2 websites I can go to right now. You're like, yep, it's Josh's website again. So I mean, he seems to have found the formula, and he's working. He's gainfully employed, and they called him. So that tells you something. Okay. So yes, but the whole point distinction is: are you standing out in some way? And if you aren't standing out, then you're going to blur into the crowd and be forgotten potentially. So ideally, stand out in some way, some positive way, so that even if you aren't hired this time around, perhaps you'll make an impression and stay in memory, and maybe be hired next time around. Okay, so today we have 2 sites. We have one website. We have boneliquor.com, Bone Liquor Audio, which we'll get into that name in a second. But the other one is Andrea Martorelli. And this is a friend of Francesco, as I understand. He was referred to the stream. And I think Andrea is in the chat right now. Marto's Sound. Was that who it was? And the other one is Nano Rodriguez. So, yes. Well, I see Andrea first, so perhaps we'll do yours first. Man, let's do that. So, you guys have the sites there, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So, I mean, given I'm not sure, typically, I guess probably on average, above average, we'll receive like a website as opposed to just a video. Not the end of the world if you get a video only, it's certainly valid. But between either of those things, we kind of, like on Real Talk, myself, our guest hosts, etc., we go into these things mostly blind. I don't know if Fran and Josh looked at these things at all beforehand, did you?
I just loaded the page and then tapped away. So
Okay, cool. There you go. So
no, I haven't listened to anything.
Nice. So the idea here being that we go in kind of blind, so to speak, just to best emulate a perspective, a potential hypothetical recruiter's first impression, right? So yeah, I've seen nothing so far besides just the front page of both these things. In general, it's a little better to have a website on the whole, and the main reason for that is that, again, I'm just going to Control-Shift-T and open Josh's page again. Here you go. Drink again. We got a lot of content here. I mean, not at all to stomp you down here, Andrea. That's not my goal here. But just the idea of seeing a page that is like loaded with content, and it's very clear that the person's been putting a lot of work in. It just shows that they're very serious, right? Without even hearing anything, I'm already met with a pretty positive impression of like this person's work, right? Because there's so much to look at. Whereas a video it's like very low commitment, and this is entirely separate from whether your stuff is good or not. It's like psychological stuff, you know. So, very first thing, I would suggest investing in like Squarespace or something, just getting some kind of website going, just so that you have a little more of a footprint online, and you can dedicate a little more thought and mindfulness as far as how you can have people like navigate through your work and such. Whereas on Vimeo alone, it's hard to like control. If you have more video content in your account, for example, or on your profile, it's hard to like really control what I, as a viewer, might listen to. Even though it all might be great, it's best if you, as the person who made it, is like kind of taking me on a tour, like telling a story. Like, hey, watch this thing first. Pretty awesome, right? Okay, now watch this thing. And it just works better to kind of guide me through the process rather than just sort of like dropping a bunch of stuff on my desk and being like, here, I don't know, look at some of this stuff, you know? Okay, so I guess we can just go ahead and watch this thing, guys? So I'm going to mute you guys in the meantime, just have a nice clear sound, but we'll get the full screen here, make sure my Chrome's turned way up, and sidechain off. And okay, I guess we're good to go. So 3, 2, 1, and... Okay, all right. First one of these. Claps, please. Thank you, Andrea. Yes, and thank you, Steve, in the chat too. Websites can really show someone's ability to organize their thoughts similar to writing. Yes, agreed. Which is very relevant to audio stuff too. Okay, so I guess before we dive into too many details, just a quick first impression for you guys.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff in there. I generally preferred the first half of all the redesigns and stuff to the second half. It felt a bit more like laid out, geared towards a reel, whereas the second half kind of it was like longer form stuff that maybe took a bit too long on screen for like the purpose of a quick blast show reel.
Yeah, if it's only me watching it without a guest host, I'll generally pause it at a point where I'm like, you're losing me, just to let you know, like, here's where it happened. If I'm watching with guest host, I just like let it play through and kind of keep taking note. So I'll agree around 20, maybe like around here, like 25 to 35, somewhere in there. I was like, oh, okay, I was kind of getting ready to skip forwards. So you were kind of losing me just in terms of how slow things were moving, but we can get back to that too. Anything else, Josh?
No, I think once we get into the redesigns, it starts really, really strong. I liked a lot of the stuff in the Witcher clip, and this, there was a really nice J cut as well. I think it was a J cut because I'm not sure because the titles don't say what the redesign is. But from the kind of abstract, the abstract clip of the bullet hitting the woman's face into the gun firing, that was quite cool.
Yeah, that was one of the first trailers for Cyberpunk, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool. And Fran, any first thoughts?
Yeah, I too. Oh, sorry. I too think the very first 20 seconds are very, very strong. Then the pace goes down quite a bit. I think that slow motion section is a bit too long, and then of course I think that it's great that there is some implementation stuff at the end, but I think it's hard to keep the person that watches the video engaged during that. But I think the beginning especially shows a lot of potential in terms of sound design skills.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty on point with my thought process for this stuff too. It was very much like, okay, starting strong, and it's like just the momentum just that you kind of built up just slowly drifted away to just to a slow crawl and to a stop eventually. The stop being at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm probably done seeing this. So let's go ahead and look back at this criteria here. So the very first thing, presentation. Josh and Francesco, if you don't mind, I'm just going to blast through a few like very common things we see. I'm sure both of you already have in mind, and we've heard a lot of before on Real Talk. So very first thing, we're going to press play, and we have your name and sound design demo for like half a second. That could probably afford to be up a little longer, and this is a great chance to design this, like animate a bit or something, even if it's just like a text appearing. It's a white canvas for you to work with as far as designing something arbitrary and sort of not synced to picture. So,
I mean, the logo at the end does actually animate. So maybe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So
do that at the start as well.
Boom. Good point. Didn't even see that. So, yeah, and it can't possibly hurt Andrea to have your contact info here. Just make it as easy as possible to get in touch with you. You know. Just impressions are really important. Sound design wise, Unity audio occlusion, full videos in the description. This probably isn't super relevant to have right here. Just blast into your work. I think it's, if you have, especially if you, I saw you say website's your next priority. If you have the website, I'm going to assume that you have longer form versions, or at least hope you have longer form versions of things like your Wise stuff. Like on Josh's page, for example, it's like in the demo reel, there's like teaser trailer stuff where like, here's a taste, If you want to see more, like videos below kind of thing, right? But it's only a taste because they don't need to show you everything about this for like many, many, many seconds. You can just get the gist and then move on. So really quick here, this is probably not needed if you have the full website. And for titling in general, this needs some work for sure. Man, it's just too easy. Josh@umbel.com. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Josh. This, but like titling wise, you can't go wrong. Like this is fine right here. This titling, Andrea, like you can't go wrong with this. Just have the opacity behind it, the titling. My liver can't take this. Sorry. Like this title is perfect. You know, that's really good. Just the gist of what it is, who made it, and what you did. Putting redesign alone is a little discourteous to the developers that made the original content. You know, say what the project is, say who made it, and then say, yes, sound redesign. Just say that. Next up.
Yeah, it's like this page here, like, where is it? In like 3 seconds. It's like kind of like a contents page for the reel, and it's just you know, like if you're trying to grab someone's attention very, very quickly, just get them straight into the actual content, which starts off strong. So it's just like extra time that's up when there's no audio, and it's just
it's probably worth bringing up. There's a talk I went to at GDC years and years ago, like 2012 or 13 or something, and Scott Gershon, veteran of game audio stuff, you know a ton of stuff he's worked on. He said that your goal as someone applying to a job is to make him want to keep listening within 10 seconds. That's the goal. So if you have silence for the first like 5 or 6, then you're killing half your opportunity to want to impress somebody, to make them want to hear more. Just blast into it. It's fine. Titling, again, your name comes up like strangely towards the end of this thing. So 20 seconds in, we're reminded of who you're watching. I was like, oh, okay, sure. It's fine. Like to have it here, I'm not sure. Maybe you can let me know like what your motivation was for putting your name again in the video, but that's pretty unusual. Like we wouldn't usually see that, and the name disappearing again in the middle of the video.
I think another thing that I would have liked to see is some consistency between all of these labels, like all of this text, because like the initial slide, Andrea Martorelli sound design demo, has some colors and fonts that are different from the slide that comes 2 seconds later, that is also different from the titles we see on the clips. And yeah, of course, it's a very minor thing, but I think it could help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the details. It's easy to think how the details in terms of like visual presentation would hold parallels in terms of details in audio presentation as well. If you have those details dealt with, it's just one less thing that the viewer might be distracted by, and they can just focus on your awesome sound work. Okay.
Yeah, like shows like kind of it's like attention to detail as well. If like the branding is consistent across all of your online material, it's just like, you know, it's one less thing that the person looking at your reel could think negatively about it. You know, like matching the fonts across everything, matching the colors across everything. And I mean, I just went for everything black and white just to make that a lot easier. You know.
Sure. Like, I mean, it works though, certainly.
Like yeah, it's just like it just shows that you're like a detail-oriented person. I think which is always a good trait in someone working in sound, I think. So.
You know, I didn't even realize that at about 1 minute and 13, Wise is underlined. And it didn't even occur to me that the first title meant we're going to do sound design first. I thought this was like a heading, and then beneath that was Wise and Unity audio occlusion, and I was confused. But, okay, yeah, so you're saying sound design first, and then we get into Wise, and then Unity. Yeah, I just fully missed that entirely. So...
yeah, I didn't get that at first as well.
Okay, there you go. So perhaps causing more confusion than clarity. So again, worth getting rid of that entirely. We'll just go over Frozen for the time being, moving into the last thing too. Oh, one small detail, Wise is capital W, lowercase w in order. So just again, small details.
Okay.
That's a bit of a massive nitpick, but yeah, I noticed. So there you go. Okay. And flow-wise, we didn't even mention this, but this reel, we did mention how it kind of loses momentum and energy and such. There's a few things leading to that, I think, but a big one is just simply the length. It doesn't need to be 2 minutes long. The content in this reel does not justify 2 minutes, in my opinion. I believe that a minute, again, this is my personal opinion, I think a minute is all you need for sound design to get someone's attention and then just, direct their viewing experience elsewhere if they want to see more things. A minute is like plenty to show off what you can do. So in that respect, I mean, we can talk about that in kind of between presentation and material selection, but this occlusion section, it's cool to see that you were doing occlusion things with Wise and such, or with Unity rather, but it just keeps going. Like I got the point pretty early on, and then you just like kind of kept walking back and forth, and all I could think of was like, okay, yeah, I got it. Like move on. Like, what else do you have? So again, just give them that taste and then just move on. Give them a taste and move on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So length and flow stuff. I mean, Josh, what do you think about this this very end thing with the code and such? Like at 158.
That confused me. Like it was like a sort of. There's like not enough time to, if you do read C#, there's not enough time to like read it and understand it. And it's just like, yeah, that kind of stuff would be better in like a blog post or like a tutorial instead. It's just a bit of a strange thing to put at the end, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe it could work as an overlay to a video.
Yeah, like saying something like, I mean, we've certainly seen that where you have like the picture-in-picture, like here is me recording the thing that you're hearing right now, or here is like the smaller picture of like Fmod that's doing the thing that you're hearing right now, or whatever, right? It can work, but having just a block of code by itself with no sound, that's what I meant when I said we slowed to a crawl and then just stopped. Like this represents where we stopped. It's just like there's no more sound and nothing else to listen to in this sound design reel. So this, I think, can just go, or at least be accompanied by something that we're listening to. It's a sound reel. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like dead air. Like there's no sound over it, and it's a sound reel. But to be brutally honest, like, yeah.
Yes, use all your seconds, all of them. Totally agree, says him. Perfect. Okay, so I guess moving on to material selection then. I guess the first question I'd ask is, Francesco, what area of game audio do you think he wants to get into? Like a third-party studio, or like indie freelancing, or like AAA studio, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that because I think so. We see some redesign for a AAA title, for a couple of AAA titles at the beginning, and then there is some cinematics, some like movie scenes, Frozen and Iron Man, and then we've got some Lego Batman, and then some indie style game. So I think this reel could be interesting for a wider audience, but I don't think there is a specific target in here. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think it does totally. And in fact, just to this end, Andrea, in the chat, do you want to tell us what you want to be working on? Like what kind of job you're hoping to get with this? Because the thing is, like, we're viewing this reel like it's the primary piece for a job application, right? So where might you use this reel to apply is the question. The reason for the question is that ideally we shouldn't be unclear about that. We should know right away what you want to be doing. And we would know that by what kind of pieces you select to redesign. If you want to work in the indie space, doing like indie freelancing and such, I wouldn't choose like Destiny and Halo and Call of Duty to redesign, because that does not at all say to the viewer, I want to work in indie games, right? Of course, it's an extreme example, but it's that's what we're trying to get at. So having the very first thing be Witcher, and then into Cyberpunk next, It seems you are a CD Projekt Red fan, so perhaps that's where you want to work. That's my guess. But yeah, you can certainly let us know in the chat, and we can move forward from there.
And we see also some like very technical sound design and even code at the end. So a bit of a generalist reel, I think, which can work in certain contexts, I guess.
Yeah, I think knowing code in some respect can't possibly hurt you. That's one thing that a lot of studios say, like, code is a bonus for sure. So,
but yeah, for sure, if you go to work for a AAA studio, for example, they will never ask you to code or any code skills. Of course, it helps to know it, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah, it's like
it's not like a requirement, but it's like it helps to like understand the like general language and of like if you're speaking to like a programmer, to have some kind of reasonable like understanding of what's possible and what you can expect, and rather than just being a complete noob and asking for things that just clearly aren't possible. Like it helps to understand somewhat what can be done and what can't be done, and
Yeah, it's like the classic example of the manager at a restaurant working one day in like every role at the host stand and in the dishwashing pit and like in the everywhere, just so you know what that job looks like, so you can speak to them in an informed manner. So okay. I guess we can talk about content. Oh, first though, so yeah, he did reply and said, "My dream is to work in AAA company, but since I'm still a noob, I'm open to work on everything from indie to AAA." Yeah, I don't think he called an indie noob. It's all right. It said he's a noob, and therefore he's open to all things. It's fine. Yes, you're a beginner. I understand that. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think that's very common. For example, you'll have reels, and they want to work at a studio like CD Projekt Red or whatever, and they'll make a reel like this that has like redesigned content from their work to say, yes, I'm a big fan of your stuff, and here's me designing things that you are familiar with and that resemble the kind of work you do. And then perhaps after that, showing things like the smaller gigs, like the indie thing you did, or this game jam thing you did, or this personal project or whatever. Because if you script it that way, it's like, well, here's this awesome stuff, pretty cool, right? And then move into what you've actually done. Those things you've done they kind of like support your ambitions that happened earlier on. It's like easy to assume that the redesigns reflect the kind of work you want to be doing while you're currently in this space. Okay, so I guess
if your dream is to work in a AAA company, I would say just like you want to get the real like absolutely laser focused towards that. Like if someone of equal sound design skill submits a reel that is just entirely, say you want to work on AAA sci-fi games, and they're just you're equally talented sound designers, and one reel is just laser focused AAA sci-fi redesigns and implementation relevant to that, and one of them is like a mixed bag of different things, that always going to first off the bat pick the laser focused reel over the mixed bag one. Like it's just
yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. Even though you said they're equally talented sound designers, it's just clear that one might be a better fit for the team. The one thing we keep touching upon, Andrea, is that if you're being hired somewhere, them hiring you represents them assuming a risk, and you are the risk. So the more you can assure them that you are a low risk and that you're serious, and that your ambitions reflect their ambitions and your skills reflect the kind of things they're working on, that just means that you become a lower and lower and lower risk. And if you're the lowest risk, they'll hire you. That's kind of what the hiring process represents, right? So, Rob K in the chat. That's Rob Krekel. I just mentioned you earlier. Congrats on Last of Us Part 2 and all the positive feedback it's getting, man. Good job. Okay, so the one thing we didn't mention, we kind of have mentioned it here and there, but not explicitly, is that it's probably not worth putting in Iron Man and Frozen and film work if you want to work in games. It's cool that you did this, and it certainly will help you in terms of your personal growth as a sound designer, but in terms of a job application, again, just like Josh is saying, laser focus it, and having film work in a game audio reel, it helps a bit, but it doesn't help that much, okay? So I guess content quality we can move on to before we move on to Nano's work. I think the opening stuff is probably where we want to focus as far as the sound design feedback. So, do you have any thoughts on the Witcher piece, Francesco?
I think it sounded really good, and I really like the attention to detail of some sounds. Like that explosion sounds great, and I think there's like a farming tool that falls, and I think that sounded really good. Like I really like those subtleties. I think they also tell a lot about the sound designer, not just focusing on the bigger sounds. I think to a certain extent, it's almost easier to make sounds sound big, and it's harder to get the minor details right. But so I really appreciated that. I didn't find that same attention to detail in the following clips. I think some of them felt a little bit empty, but then again, like the following ones were like there was that very long slow motion sequence where it's really hard to fill it without music as well. So
yeah, like this slow motion shot. I've seen this redesigned, and it's a little bit like that Waves contest with the Need for Speed thing. Did you design it at VFS, friend?
Yeah, I had to do that.
There you go. Yeah, so Francesco knows the exact scene. We've seen it in so many reels because it's in the VFS curriculum. It's
it
this
used to be in my reel as well.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I probably if I saw it, I would have given you a hard time for it. But it's a super slow. It's like a freeze frame of this Need for Speed like car crashing. I think it's from Shift. I think, and the camera's like flying through all the debris and stuff. All it's all frozen. And every single redesign's like, it's like every single one. Goes, oh, what can this ring mod do? What can this granulizer do? And in the end, there's only so much you can do with it without, just sound like everything else. And this clip is kind of similar, being slow-mo, but there definitely is room to dig in deeper on details, like on this bullet impact, for example. It's like... It's a little bit just like, here's a big noise, like Josh, or no, I think Francesco, you were saying, like it's easier to make something big than it is to hone in on details. You just go, and it's like, oh wow, like everything's covered now. But yes, perhaps that's good for a foundation, but it can't hurt to dig into those like tiny things, like Fran was saying too. Josh, any thoughts on the first, second clip?
I would agree. Oh, on the second, I had a few thoughts on the Witcher clip.
Yeah, go for
as
it.
Well,
sure.
I think all of the main like beats are like really, really solid and could like nothing sounded out of place to my ears. It could have been the actual trailer, but like Fran said, I also liked all of the obvious. It's not all entirely there, but like the obvious, he's thought about the smaller details as well. Like there's a moment at like 7 seconds when the creature like hits the beam and falls back, and you hear the sound of it hitting all the like pots and pans on the side. That was really cool. And like taking note of what is on the floor and the body falls. I think the body falls. It depends if you're going for that kind of like realistic or stylized thing. Like the body falls, if it was more of a cinematic type thing, I think could be a bit weightier and heavier. But I think this sounds more like the game would. So it's fine. One thing that would really I'm a big fan of when people do it is when there's like an explosion like inside or something. I'm just a sucker for like you hear the building react to the explosion. So at like 9 seconds when he throws the like grenade type thing, I would love to hear the whole barn like kind of creak and rattle and more stuff flying around as an impact of that, as like a consequence of that explosion.
Yeah, sure. There's like some chains hanging. Really cool. There's like some beams over top. There's a lot of room just to kind of inject. And the thing with this clip is we often say like, where's the ambience for redesigns? Because it's a very common thing for up and coming sound designers to focus entirely on like what's in the very center. So like Francesco was saying, you've done a great job with some details like that rake falling over and like the pots kind of tumbling away and so forth. And just the nature of this clip, there isn't a whole lot of opportunity to design what's outside the shot, because it's like the nature of the cinematic is that this is all that's happening. It's like this fight in this abandoned barn, and there's nothing else in the scene. So you have this chance, though, on that explosion to like really, you get to say, well, what else is there, though? What's it hard left and right outside the frame?
Yeah.
And that could be things like the building reacting to that explosion.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything on the cyberpunk clip?
I've never really tried slow motion sound design stuff. I'm probably not the best person to comment on this. Yeah, like I think because of the nature of the clip, it kind of slows the whole reel down a bit too much for me. My first note was when the bullet like shatters on her face. I would like to hear a lot more like glassy particle detail on that. It just kind of breaks, and there's no like real shift in the kind of frequency spectrum. It just stays the same sort of low, mid, heavy, mid-bass drone thing.
Totally. And flow-wise too, it's a bit flow, a bit content. It's kind of across the board, like the Venn diagram. It's like right in the middle. But when we go black here and then fade back in, not black, I guess, just crossfade to the gun again. I'm like, okay, another bullet, and then it just fades out again. It just felt like we were like stopping and starting a lot. In terms of the real content, so just one last thing to finish. In terms of like the real content, you could have like the clip of the bullet on the face, and that's it probably. If you want to have this clip in your go ahead.
One thing I thought was cool was you hear like the sounds of like a distant gunfight whilst we're still on the shot of the bullets shattering, like a nice little audio J-cut thing, which is actually I quite like. That was a nice touch. I think that's pretty much all for that clip.
Cool.
For me, I think.
All right, and then I guess the like the Iron Man clip. I mean, it's not games, but we can talk about that if you want. It's very short. It's like, here's the thing. And I feel like was this a contest? I thought, I've seen this clip before for sure in some context. I'm not sure what it was. But, I mean, yeah, it's just, it's like the Iron Man, like tons of articulations. Kind of like Transformers too. There's like tons of stuff. So it's fun to design. It's just very, like heavy, like in the phrasing side of things, right? Francesco, do you have any thoughts on like this or Frozen? Either one of them?
On the Frozen one?
Or on Iron Man, either one.
I was rewatching now the Iron Man one. I think it sounds good, but like I don't know. I can't really tell from the sound which component is what in terms of like all of these metal parts they assemble together, right? And what I like to do, for example, in reloads for weapons is try to think, okay, this component here has this specific metal resonance, and every time it moves, it makes this specific sound.
Yeah.
And to think in that organic way, like really trying to understand the object first.
To think there's like rules being defined by the physics of what's actually happening.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the sounds that play here are cool, and they're like mostly in sync with the picture. So like it fits. It's not like it doesn't fit, but I think it could sound better if there was more attention to the individuality of each component of the suit. Like treat them all as separate parts with separate processing, separate source, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very, very loose stereo, I think, too. Let me hear this full volume. It's like right about... Oh, and while I'm here, there's a weird transition here. I meant to mention this earlier. At the end of this gun clip, it kind of like jolts forwards. You see this? At 55 seconds-ish? What's happening there? Something weird, man.
Yeah.
It's like in the audio also. It's like something happened in the video export, I think, or in the editing, or I don't know what happened, but something's there, and I did notice it the first time around. And I was like, oh, that was weird. But anyways, moving on. I want to hear the panorama on this clip here. Let's go. I'm going to play full volume. Yeah, it's like, it's everywhere. It's like it's full left, right. There's like a hard left. Like, what is it hard left of his hand right now, you know? Like, there's nothing over there. It's like, so it's a very focused clip, but it's still important to think about like what the panning on this thing is. And like Fran was saying, well, what sound does this specific component make? Having a bit of panning attention here as well could help kind of ground these various articulations in the scene, right? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think the main moment here is when his mask comes on his face, and I think that could be a much larger impact.
Yeah, it seemed like kind of a weak finish. It's a bit of a
also because it triggers the transition to the interior, so you could do you can play with sound design quite a bit there, like transition from external ambience to internal. You could hear him breathing. You could hear a very tight reverb, for example. We're in a different perspective now. So that impact, if we overstate it a bit, it could lead to an interesting transition.
I like it. Okay, we can probably skip Frozen. It feels very similar to like the Witcher thing. It's like stuff exploding, like magic things and they're happening and so forth. I mean, Witcher it's already solving that problem. It's filling that role in this reel, and it's also a game, so it's just better to have in general. The sound design Wise project. Josh, any thoughts here as far as this presentation and the sound of it and so forth?
I mean, it's cool. I mean, like I always think like as long as it's not like offensive, like the purpose of these implementation sections is more to show that you're comfortable inside of an engine, really.
Right. Yeah, to show that you're like taking the time to learn it and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not offensive. It's just fine. It's fine.
Yeah. It's cool.
And then the occlusion thing. Yeah, sure. Same. It's the exact same thing. You're just you're in the tools. You're doing stuff. Good. Like good job. You're showing it off. Just show less of it. That's all.
I'm curious. Like, is this is it Lego Batman clip like 114? Is that like or you can answer in the chat. Like, is that like a demo project you can download and then implement Wise into, and hook up all the sounds yourself, or is it like you've taken a video clip and implemented the sounds into Wise and triggered them back?
Like an implemented mock-up almost.
Yeah, kind of like I've just never seen this project before.
Yeah, nor I actually, and that's where these titles come in handy, because just saying redesign only is kind of like, it's just very, very vague in terms of what this thing is. So having a little more information about what this is, who made it, is it downloadable demo project? Is it like, were you working on this project and you did a redesign of it on your own time? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of options that you could be doing. But yeah, so it was part of a test, he says. Then I tried to replicate everything on Wise. Okay. Yeah, I'm still not entirely clear as far as like what you had access to and such. But and also on that note, so Lazarus has mentioned in the chat a few times. I meant to come back to you. Sorry, pal. What are your thoughts on using failed audio tests in your reel, like that Telltale Games thing? I knew I'd seen it before, and for that reason, I assumed it was a test for some company. We see like League of Legends all the time as an example. We see the Riot tests that someone didn't get hired with, and so I don't know how you guys feel about this, but my perspective is that if I see a failed test, it's almost like your skill level is secondary. My immediate kind of psychological, almost like not deliberate response, like unintentionally, I just respond like, oh well, they didn't hire you, so why should I? That's kind of my immediate thought. But if the rest of your reel kicks ass, then it won't matter. But just be aware that is a risk you're taking by putting in content for which you were not hired. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably, I think that would probably be my reaction as well. I'm not. I mean, you could always say it's like not share the fact that it was a test. I mean, I'm not sure if the
just say redesign
legality, sure. Or like, the sort of legality or ethics or whatever of doing that, but
I kind of feel, I mean, it's for some clips I'm like, I know exactly what this is. This is definitely a test you did not get hired for, but not everyone in the world watches tons of demo reels, so it's not always obvious. But yeah, just be aware that when you phrase things certain ways, there's kind of conclusions that people can draw. So we can probably stop right there for for Andrea's stuff. So I guess very last thing in terms of the criteria here, down below. So Francesco, first, do you think that in a crowd, Andrea is standing out right now?
I think based on the very first 15 seconds, like I was very impressed. Then, yeah, as we said, it lost momentum. But if the video was just like much shorter and if it kept the same quality of the first 15 seconds, I think it would be a very strong candidate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Josh?
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, the first clip I found quite impressive, and then the rest of the reel kind of tailed off. I think, yeah, like if you kept up the level of the Witcher clip and drilled in on the detail even more, and kept up that kind of standard for the whole reel, it has the potential to stand out. I think you're probably a lot better than the reel lets people know you are. You know, if you organise the flow a bit better and like only used the work you're most proud of, like there's no point in showing work that is old and doesn't reflect your actual skill level just to pad out the length of the reel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you even said.
I would say as well there. It's like just, you know, if you're going for the whole AAA thing as well, it's just, I mean, this might just be me, but like, try and find like a demo project to redesign that looks like it could be a AAA game, like, you know, something along the lines of that. Like there's tons on like the Epic Store for free to download, and you can implement Wise into them, and yeah, like just kind of aesthetically, it looks a lot better to me when the in-engine stuff is also vaguely AAA looking. It's really cool too. It doesn't pull you out of it. Like you've got like 2 AAA redesigns and then an implementation clip and then a AAA redesign to cap it off. If the AAA redesign in the middle like looks completely different, I find it can pull me out of the whole reel as a whole piece of work. But that might just be terribly nitpicking.
No, I mean, I fully agree with that. Absolutely. Yes, I mean, on the whole, just I mean, the very first thing to focus on is a little more flow considerations, a few more details, and just more focus in terms of your most up-to-date, hot stuff that's most relevant to the kind of job you want to land. So there you go. I would agree. It's not quite standing out for me yet, but I think I'd love to see your version 2 if you work on it a little more. So thanks, pal. Give me one of these. Some claps in the chat, please. And we'll move on to Nano Rodriguez. Okay. Here we go. This is Bone Liquor Audio. I gotta say, Nano, when this URL and the name came in, I definitely raised some eyebrow. Well, one eyebrow mostly, just one eyebrow. Like, okay. It seems like, I mean, you got like branding and stuff. You seem pretty like the cube and the cube here, and get the URL and the name. Like, it all seems pretty branded. So you seem pretty serious, but the name is definitely a little bit strange. There's no way around it, and it's hard to I don't want to tell you what to do, but in terms of anybody receiving this site, they're going to be like, what? The first thing they're going to think is what, and then they'll listen to your stuff, and then you're just you're already dealing with somebody who may have a preconceived notion of what they're going to be listening to. So I don't know if Fran and Josh have a similar opinion on the name of this website and the name of your brand, but this is my position. Chell does not think about barbecue, and Vincent does. Okay, well, Vincent thinks about barbecue. Perhaps you'd land in his good books, but Josh, Fran, any thoughts on the name of this site right now?
Yeah, I mean, just the URL I didn't know it was an audio website just from the URL, I guess is the first thing. Or like, I didn't know it was a portfolio of a person. Yeah, that's my first thought. And just as a word, as like a phrase, bone liquor is a bit kind of conjures of some imagery you might not want when people are looking at your website for the first time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put it this way. It's simply a risk you are taking. in terms of it being interpreted in certain ways that you might not intend. And I'm trying to be like real diplomatic here. I'm trying to choose my words carefully. It is a risk you're assuming by naming, like anytime you name anything that you're working on, there are assumed risks in doing so. So just be aware of that. If you are comfortable with these risks, then power to you. We would be remiss not to mention it. Okay. So links are working. A little SoundCloud. Let's see. SoundCloud. Bone. Again, it's all branded as heck. Super. Oh, here's Art Melody 1 and 2 fuck ups. Okay, well that's something else, I guess. We'll go to Have You Heard Nano? Here's Nano. Game audio post sound design. Cool. Doing it. I mean, this is awesome. I love seeing Instagrams where it's like, look at all these cables. These sweet cables. Good on you. Okay, and Vimeo is right here, I assume. Oh, one mention. Oh, Twitch also. You're on Twitch? Let's go. Are you hosting us right now? Check out this recent video from 11 days ago. Okay, I guess you were doing some DJ set, looks like. Nice. Good stuff. We don't see Twitch on portfolios very often. And some Facebook stuff. I will not click that. And one note, I think that when I load this page, the video autoplays. Is this correct? No, it didn't this time. Interesting. I thought it did the first time around.
It did. It did for me the first time.
Oh, interesting. Perhaps it was like just changed. Maybe it was just updated. Who knows? Okay, so on the site first, we have a site to look at, which is great. Thanks, Nano. So we have home, we got samples, production, game audio, sound design, we got resume, and we got mail. It's just mail too, easy enough. Resume is, I can't control click it, okay. Emiliano Nano Rodriguez, okay. Great, you're doing stuff. Good on you. All right, and then samples, we'll go production first, just have a glance. Above, you will find a variety of original productions and compositions for projects ranging from film to large-scale art installments. Click the View Track option on the SoundCloud Media Player, perhaps, to find out more about each composition. Back to samples. Okay, well, back to samples. Where's that go? Just the main page? Oh, the samples button is a link. I didn't know that at all. Or no, it's not actually. It just goes to... I don't know. Well, it's a little confusing. Oh, game audio. We got some Cube coming up. All right. Let's go to the game audio here. Fmod Unity, see Fmod demo reel, Audio Kinetic, Wise, see Wise demo reel. Back to samples. Okay, this is a little bit confusing to look at, just due to the color of the background things. And lastly, sound design. We got some videos, 2 videos. Okay, I guess just really quick first impression stuff. Josh, you have any thoughts on layout stuff?
It's kind of makes it hard to find what you want to look at because there's, I mean, especially on the game audio and sound design pages, there's like no explanation of what these things are. Like, yeah, like I don't have any idea what I'm going to be seeing if I click on Fmod demo reel before I clicked it. Like, and I think, yeah, that's my first thought. I find the site's a bit hard to navigate.
Yeah, I just clicked it myself, actually. It's Viking Village Fmod Studio. There you go. Classic. And so comparing this to your sound design page, I mean, sound design is a video and a video. You could easily put some text beneath this as far as what these things are, because they're not named, and it can't hurt to have a little more information as far as what we're looking at. And so for the game audio stuff, I mean, Fmod Unity, you could easily just have this video labeled Fmod Studio, and then one beneath that labeled Wise. Like, you don't need separate pages. I'm a big fan of just driving it to be more and more minimal and just trimming all the fat you can. So I think the extra click is not really necessary here. Fran, any thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I agree with what Josh and you said. It could be a bit more minimal, a bit more condensed into less pages. Also, I'm not sure that samples correctly represent what's in its submenu, but I'm not sure. Like, English is not my first language, so.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, samples is kind of like like examples of demo material is kind of what samples could mean in this case. I wasn't put off by the word samples too much. I mean, it being to the left here is a little bit weird on the second page, but again, small nitpick stuff, whatever. Okay, do you want to watch the... Oh, there it goes. It played this time. So yeah, it seems to be auto-playing sometimes. I don't understand what's causing that, but whatever. The autoplay is, if it's intentional, it's bold, I think. I'm trying one more time. Load the page. One more time. Load the page. I don't know. I have no idea. If it goes samples first, then home, does it play it? Yeah, I don't know. So it autoplays sometimes. Just be aware that's a little bit... some could view that as obnoxious, just so you know. We are 1 minute and 1 second long. Sweet! Are you guys prepared to watch this thing?
Yeah.
Let me get ready to mute myself and so forth. Okay, and 3, 2, 1, and... Oh, what? Okay. PlayStation. All right. Well, that was I'll clap, I guess. There you go. Claps for Nano. That was a surprising finish. This is... I would not describe this as a demo reel in its current state. But before I give my opinion that you've all heard before, I will ask perhaps Josh. Go ahead. Any first impressions first?
I was a bit confused throughout the whole thing as to what I was supposed to be watching, really. Yeah, it was a bit chaotic, like fast cuts. It kind of got, if I'm brutally honest, it got to the point where I was just trying to figure out if I'd seen some of these films without the titles and guess what they were, because it's not. Yeah, I would agree. It's not really a demo reel in the typical form. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Audio Birdie. Good to see you. Welcome on in. Francesco, do you have any thoughts beyond that?
Well, I think the most confusing thing was the ending, with the Kinect commercial and the Xbox logo and stuff, like which haven't even been redesigned in terms of audio.
Okay. And sorry, just in the chat, Taco Bowl said, check out the name of the video. It's called Mass Effect Bootleg Game Trailer. Okay, all right. Well, back to the video. Sorry, carry on, Fran. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no. And I think there are some, I don't know, yeah. It doesn't look like a demo reel. I think the length is good, but I think there could be different material, and yeah.
Yeah, it seems the length is good because BioWare chose a length that was good, and it's like incidentally a minute long. It's not a minute long because Nano chose for it to be a minute long.
I got the impression it was like a super. It's like, well, now I've clicked through the Vimeo link and got the actual title of the video. I figure it's like he's taken clips from all sorts of different films and games and composed them together to make what could be like an alternate Mass Effect trailer. I
have no idea what this is. Basically,
because there were some shots from Children of Men in there, and
Oh, that's
Oh
what it
yeah, okay,
Um,
yeah. So it's like it's cut
Yeah.
in a way that's like, is it the trailer? It's not, but yeah, okay. Because yeah, some is sure, okay, done. So it's like kind of clever and interesting, but it's just mostly the problem here is that it's mostly confusing, and I think it's fair to say that again you're assuming a risk if you're being like too clever or not clear as far as what it is that people are watching, then yeah, the risk is that they'll be too focused on thinking, what is this thing, rather than, wow, this sounds sweet. Because yeah, like I have thoughts on the sound design. It's not terrible, but it's there's a lot of room for improvement. But to be absolutely clear, I didn't hear like half of it. Like I wasn't thinking about the sound design. I was like, what am I watching right now? And then the end just sort of confirmed that I should be confused the whole time because it has this ending clip for Xbox with PlayStation. So yeah, it's definitely a very tongue-in-cheek approach to a reel, and I think it's risky as hell. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh. Yep.
I think I was just saying. I think Fran was going to speak.
Yeah. Also, in the Vimeo description, it says this was a lot of fun and done solely for personal enjoyment and fun, but it's showed as a demo reel on his website. So, is it for personal enjoyment and fun, or is it to promote your sound design work and get eventually hired? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would never fault somebody for doing something for their own enjoyment and fun. I mean, why live if not, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, I get that.
But yes, I mean, absolutely. There's kind of a time and a place, and when you have a page like this, Bone Liquor Audio, with the video pane right there, this says to me, okay, so you want to work with our, like with my brand, with me and my team or myself or whatever it is. Here is the video. This says, like, here's why you're here. Listen to what we can do for you. And this video does not answer that question as far as what can you do for me. So yeah, big consideration there for you. I would definitely encourage you to think about why this video exists. And not this video specifically, but like why a video in this position on your website exists. And if that goal is to, again, promote your work like Fran says, then this video is not doing that job. I mean, I'm kind of tempted to look elsewhere on the site. We have like 10 minutes left as opposed to just this clip.
Yeah.
Let's just glance at, let's say, game audio and see what we find here. So let's go to Fmod Unity. See Fmod demo reel. This is Viking Village. So right away, this looks like more what you'd see in a typical reel. It's like, here's the thing you're going to watch and have a look. So let's just go full screen. It's 5 minutes long. We watched the whole thing. I'm just going to play a little bit on my side. Feel free to play it yourself too, guys. So I'll play it from the beginning here. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so whoa, brutal frame rate. That's unfortunate, but not the end of the world. Maybe it is the end of the world. This is pretty rough. Okay, wall of text. So this is, Nano, I would encourage you to say this instead. This is a pretty ineffective way of communicating this information. This is like hard to read, as big as it is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my screen's like, it's this big, so I'm just reading a wall right now. And also, it's just like, it's a wall of text. Just say it instead, for sure. Use the VO. And for Viking Village, nothing's happening in Viking Village. You have tons of time to talk.
Yeah, I think someone last week said as well, like, doing voiceover on these things as well also, like, kind of passively shows your ability to record and edit good professional quality dialogue as well.
Yeah, totally.
Which is, yeah.
Oh, and also, this is not the best way to do footsteps also. We've seen this before. We actually had Joseph Harvey from Fmod in the chat last time we saw this style of doing footsteps, where you have like everything playing, but one's turned down. This is, as you can see, like these are active right now, right? But what this does, this drives up your voice count, and there's also, it's just not optimal. The optimal way is to instead have a surface parameter where you're not turning up wood by 1 and water by 1 and metal by 1, but instead you have like one parameter devoted to footsteps, and it's deciding what's playing. So you put the footstep sounds on the parameter timeline instead. And that also makes it easier for the programmer to do, because they have a single parameter to work with. They don't have a different parameter for every single surface in the game. It's, yeah, that's definitely, this is, I don't think this is meant to be a tutorial, but yeah, this definitely does show a little more of just like what state you're at in your Fmod learnings, that you have a little bit of ways to go yet as far as knowing the best practices.
I guess this approach could work if you can blend surfaces, like dirt and some water, but I'm not sure if that's what it did in this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had, for example, in some projects, we'll have the surface parameter on the Fmod timeline, and then, in fact, let me just... can I show you without breaking NDA? 1 second. I'm going to turn off my display capture for a second and make sure I don't show project names and stuff by accident. I sure would have. Let's just new project. Here we go. Okay, I'm coming back, and display capture. Here we go. So you could do like new 2D event or new 3D event, whatever. Have a parameter. You call it like, surface. We'll use a range of numbers, screw it, of like 1 to 25, 20 or something. And then on here, we can have 2 different parameters. We can also have a parameter that's like, is it wet? 0 to 1. And then we have, the various footsteps in each one here. We got like, all these surfaces. Then we also have an instrument beneath that, which is like the water aspect. And this thing, like you were doing, you would have this volume on like this parameter timeline instead, right? So either it's like wet or it's not, but you also have these separate surfaces going on. Okay, anyways, enough of that. Back over to the content. Okay. I've probably seen enough at this point of this bit. Let's just glance at the Wise one really quick. See Wise demo reel. Cube, okay. Seen lots of Cube in the past. Let's crank this up and play. Environment, a little typo there. So I have a sneaking suspicion we'll be met with another wall of text at some point in this video. Yeah, and like Josh was saying, I mean, it's pretty easy to judge implementation demos a little more leniently, because all you're showing is that you're learning it. You're doing this thing, and you understand that it's interactive audio, and implementation's a big part of that. That's really all that video exists to prove, and that's fine. And Cube is really hard to make sound good. Go ahead.
I mean, like, if your implementation videos sounded as good as your linear design videos, then that's just seriously impressive. To be able to translate that into the game and not lose any of the quality would be such an impressive thing to see. But it's it's not often not the case. So.
Yeah, very, very commonly not the case. Absolutely. Okay, I mean, yeah, it's just like the classic Cube demo. There is some like zooming in on, okay, here's more text. There's like zooming in on the Wise UI and stuff. Yeah, again, this is just so much better just to talk about it, man. Just tell us what this thing is. Don't expect us to draw conclusions from the Wise project and from your text. It's just not. It's asking a lot, basically, of people who are trying to, adjudicate your fitness for a given team or project. Someone in the chat mentioned that it's not clear what the services are. Bowmancer, what's up, Bowman? Good to see ya. Yeah, Yeah, so it's really not clear. This branding is strong, so I thought we'd see a pretty strong brand as far as like, here's what I can do for you, but it's really quite scarce. Like it's hard to find what it is that you do. Like, do you do sound design? Do you do? I mean, your samples, production, game audio, and sound are here, sure, but it's not at all clear like what you want to be doing. Yeah, it's just. I mean, there's no like portfolio here beyond just those two kind of tutorial or like just samples of implementation stuff. Like, what kind of games do you want to work on? Have you worked on anything else beyond these things? It's just, yeah, it's not very clear. Yeah. Is this the same video we just watched under sound design? Yeah, so again, sound design has the same video we just saw on the front page, so this offers no more illumination of what we want to learn. You know, we watch that video and we leave it confused. Even if we don't leave it confused, or that front video is like, you know, a demo reel, and I want to learn more, there's nothing else to learn here on the sound design page. So please give us more information, okay? Yeah, I mean, do you have any, unless you guys have any like specific notes on like content in that main video or anything, I'm keen to move on, but feel free.
I think there were a lot of missing sounds from the reel, like some big moments that were completely missing. Some weird panning as well.
Oh yeah, like the glass break.
Yeah,
like way right.
Yeah, that was very distracting.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of. It's a challenging piece to design. There's so much going on. I mean, it's
absolutely,
it's a bold
and the transitions are really hard to nail. And for example, there was one transition specifically that was very abrupt. The ambiences changed a lot, and it would have been nice to have a smoother transition, both in terms of volume and of content.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's my general impression as well. So I guess the last thing to ask, I think it's probably pretty clear, but is Nano currently standing out in the crowd? Josh, thoughts?
No, not for me. There's not enough substance to this reel to get any kind of like real firm handle on where he's at. Like, yeah, like as I said, it just left it a bit confused and didn't. Yeah, it doesn't sell him at all, really, for me.
All right. Yes, I'm inclined to agree.
There's some cool moments. I mean, the fact that he cut this trailer together himself is quite cool. I just think it's such a kind of like left field choice to showcase your sound design skills. Like,
yeah, for
like
the,
a left
for
field
the very first
sound
thing.
design skills. It's just it's hard to make any kind of real judgment.
Yeah, the important thing to keep in mind is that when you're applying to a studio or for a contract gig or whatever, freelance something, like there is some level of convention and expectation that exists, and if it's not impossible to stray from that convention, like from what people are expecting to see in terms of format or whatever. It's not impossible, and we've seen some weird reels on Real Talk where I'm like, that was actually badass. It's super weird, but like cool, and it stands out in a positive way. This one is weird, and it stands out in just a kind of a confusing way. So it's not even like I have a negative opinion. I just don't have an opinion. It's just I don't know what I'm looking at. Fran, anything to add at the end there?
No, that's everything.
Okay, so yeah, for the time being, I mean, I'd love to see this again if there's a little more content to look at, but currently there's not a lot to really offer feedback on, unfortunately, at the moment. Okay, so I'll leave one of these again. Thanks, pal, for coming up on stage at the very least. And also, the PS4 SFX with the Xbox logo is maybe the most dangerous. That's perhaps a consideration. I mean, it's obviously like a fun fan thing, but you're putting it on your website with Bone Liquor Audio above it. Like, this is your brand, and it's heavily branded. Like, you have the logo and stuff everywhere. So, like, if this is your company, then yeah, that's probably getting into more dangerous territory. Especially if you're applying at gigs where it's like a Microsoft-owned studio, or Sony-owned studio or something like that, right? So, okay, I'm keen to stop right there for the time being. Well, gentlemen, thank you again so much for joining in. I know it's quite late there at this point. So,
yeah, that's cool.
So, thanks a lot. And I guess before I bid you farewell, I want to just give you the floor if you have any like personal projects or anything Cloud Imperium wants to push out or anything. I mean, the floor is yours. Go for it.
I've got nothing in particular, really.
That's fine too.
I'm trying to build my own microphones in the next week or so.
Yo, I saw that. You have your quarantine project, right? What is that?
Yeah. I'm trying to build a couple of like small little stealthy like 10mm capsule mics. I've bought some capsules from direct from a mic capsule manufacturer, and after looking at the specs and stuff, and they're supposed to record up to like 80 kilohertz, but they were only £20, so I don't know how true that'll be, but yeah, it's just a little experiment.
Okay, I'm linking that tweet right now. There you go. Everyone go follow Josh. And Francesco, any lockdown projects?
Not really, but I'd like to just say that there is this Facebook group that I created called GAIN. It stands for Game Audio Italian Network, and it's just a place where I'd like to an Italian community of game audio to grow, and we're like 350 members already, and there's not much going on in Italy in terms of video game development. But there's a lot of people who are really, really interested in knowing more about this and knowing about opportunities abroad and how to learn the skills. If there's any Italian sound designer out there, I think it's becoming a good place to share ideas, ask questions, share articles, talks, anything game audio really, and help each other especially.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. I mean, there you go. I mean, you hit your friend up and said, "Well, come on, Real Talk," and here he is. So there you go. Some feedback. Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys. And I guess
I would also say,
sure.
If anyone, I'm always happy to look at people's work and give feedback when I have time. If anyone wants to message me on Twitter, I'm sure I'll probably be sent loads of stuff now I've said that. But I'm always happy to give feedback to people if they fancy pinging stuff over to me.
Awesome. The Twitter handles are right there to the right. So add them up and say hello. I know myself as well. I mean, Kevin Regmi at Power Up. I am happy for both Nano and Andrea to give a little more of like clarification, feedback, and so forth if I have time to. It's a little challenging to just give like blanket feedback to anybody for us because we're busy. That's in fact the explicit reason that we put Real Talk on the schedules. We're like, this is when we give feedback. Otherwise, it's easiest to like backburner that forever and like never give the feedback. So yes, this is the time slot right now. It's now over. It's 5:30. So no more feedback. Okay, thanks so much, guys. I'll let you go to sleep. I can't thank you enough for making the time. Cheers.
All right, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kevin.
See you guys.
See you.
Okay, back to Dance with the Dead. Oh man, well, that was fun. I'm so thrilled that we got Josh on, Francesco and Josh, in terms of like the Real Talk alumni. I've actually been thinking about doing like a general run through of all the folks who have been on Real Talk before and see who's doing it now. I saw Max Harchick in the chat earlier. He was on Real Talk. Our very own Craig B. Stegman, Craig Barnes. Thanks everybody. Yeah, Craig was even on Real Talk as well a long time ago. So it'd be very interesting to know like who's doing it. But Barney, we'll get you on, man. Don't worry. Man, you and Sam would be sick. That'd be amazing if we can pull that off. But we'll see. I'm gonna crank this and get back to it, I guess. I don't think anything else to talk about right now. I I guess mainly, I guess the one thing is that we do have, sidechain time, right? Here we go. Sidechain, okay. The one thing is that coming up in coming weeks, if you do want to submit your own work to Power, oh my god, yes, the pit, thank you. First thing first, if you want to submit your work to Real Talk, feel free to do so at ReggaeMK or Power Up Audio or on our website via our inquiry form. You can do that too. If you are not on Twitter, that's fine. And we'll schedule it in. The one thing to consider is that we do have a pretty sick lineup of guest hosts on the docket. Check this out. We had Vincent and Matthew, and of course just now Josh Adam Bell and Francesco Del Pia. And next week we have Austin Wintry, famed composer of a ton of stuff. Okay, bye. No, you're just done? Doesn't want to. Well, fine, watching you. New track? Alright, fine. Following after that, we have Steven Shapler. We've had Shapler in the chat for a long time. I'm stoked to finally get him on the stream. He is the senior sound designer at NetherRealm Studios, recently, most notably of Mortal Kombat 11. And Urchan from Tail Worlds, recently of Mountain Blade Bannerlord, Mountain Blade 2. And after that, confirmed recently, we have M. Halberstadt, sound designer at Shell in the Pit here in town, known for Night in the Woods, Untitled Goose Game, and now, of course, working on Chicory, A Colorful Tale as well with Greg Labanov and friends. And not on this list, but after that, on July 2nd, we have Rob Krekel, who's in the chat, who is audio lead at Naughty Dog. So it's going to be sick. If you have any feedback needs in the near future, we have some very fine guest hosts to give you that feedback. So please send your stuff in. We would love to take a look. And as well, yes, thank you, Jeff, for reminding me. Oh my God, it's so easy to forget stuff when you're on camera like this. My goodness, we got the free Darkest Dungeon DLC. The Butcher's Circus is now out with PvP battles. No one saw it coming, and here it is. We announced it on April Fool's Day, and everyone thought it was a joke. It wasn't a joke. We're doing it. It's out now. You should go play it. It's a free DLC. Yeah, it's on Steam currently, and I believe that it's coming to other like consoles and stuff like TBD. We're not quite sure yet. Well, it'll depend upon like reception of this DLC. So we'll see. Yeah, so thank you again to Josh and Francesco, and I guess we'll sign off right there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again. Cranking this.